think it could get any worse. We've had death in our family that wasn't as bad because we knew what happened to them.
We oftentimes look for that golden nugget, that one person that can make the difference in your case. In this particular case, Brittney Wood was that person. She was the person that could tell the whole story.
On the evening of May 30th, 2012, 19-year-old Brittney Wood dressed up and departed from her mother's residence in Mobile, Alabama, somewhere between 7 and 7:30 p.m. Everyone had assumed that Brittney was off to visit her friend, but the reality was far from it. Unbeknownst to those around her, Brittney's true destination was her uncle, Donnie Holland's home. However, what began as an ordinary visit would unfold into a nightmarish ordeal for both the family and law enforcement. 2 days later, on June 1st, 2012, the police made a gruesome discovery. Donnie, Brittney's uncle, was found in his car, a gunshot wound to the back of his head, revealing a chilling crime scene. The shocking and blood-stained scene added a layer of mystery, intensifying further. Brittney Wood remained mysteriously absent. Did Brittney play a role in Donnie's death? And, if so, what drove her to such actions? Or was it someone else who not only killed Donnie, but also kidnapped Brittney?
Hey y'all, see your birthday party. I ain't getting nothing. Tell them who you are. I'm Brittney.
Brittney always had a dream of becoming a hairdresser and opening her salon one day. However, the young girl just in her teenage years would come across a man named Andy Woods. Their connection blossomed, leading to the joyous arrival of their beautiful daughter, Peyton, in 2009 when Brittney was just 18. While initially relishing the freedom of youth, the birth of Peyton signaled a profound change in Brittney's life. However, her life took an even more significant turn when, just a few months after Peyton's birth, Andy and Brittney parted ways. Despite the breakup, the two made the decision to share custody, maintaining a positive and amicable relationship for the well-being of their daughter. Subsequently, Brittney ventured into dating, encountering several relationships that proved short-lived. Brittney found joy in spending time with her family, particularly her brother Derek, whom she considered as her protector. Reflecting on her past, Brittney's tumultuous experiences were also rooted during her childhood days. Her father, Wallace Hinkey, had divorced her mother, Chassie Wood, when she was just a baby. Despite the divorce, Brittney maintained a positive relationship with her father. However, the main complication arose in her connection with her uncle, Donnie Holland. Donnie seemed like a fun-loving guy to everyone, always nice to those around him. However, beneath the surface his story was more complex than it appeared.
He was always nice, smile. You wouldn't know by looking at him, talking to him, that he was a demon.
At the time of his death, Donnie was actually under investigation for his alleged involvement in a child abuse ring, which extended to include other family members, even reaching members of Brittney's household. Now, is there a connection between everything that transpired in the past, leading to the ultimate death of Donnie and Brittney's disappearance? On the evening of May 30th, 2012, Brittney left her house around 7:30 p.m., with her family assuming she was visiting a friend. Despite attempts to contact her later that night, they couldn't reach Brittney. The family, accustomed to her spending days with her friends, didn't initially suspect anything was amiss. However, unbeknownst to them, this was not just one of those nights. As Brittney's whereabouts remained unknown, a chilling revelation awaited the family 2 days later, on June 1st, 2012. Donnie Holland, Brittney's uncle, was found in his car with the engine still running, left in a secluded area overlooking the Fish River. He had a gunshot wound to the back of his head, behind his ear. He was transported to a local hospital, but had passed away. Upon learning this distressing news, Brittney's family attempted once more to contact her and share the tragic information. Unfortunately, their attempts were in vain, as her phone remained unresponsive, indicating that it was dead. When they were unable to locate Britney at her usual hangouts, the family grew increasingly concerned. In response, they swiftly headed to the Mobile County Police Station and filed a missing person report. Even though your children's routine,
She has not done nothing routine. She always calls me. But she ain't called me.
this set off a series of investigations encompassing both Donnie and Britney. Now, at the crime scene, the police conducted an exhaustive search for any evidence that could swiftly solve the case. Their thorough sweep revealed a small gun and a phone battery inside the car. While at the hospital, Britney's mother, Chessie, mentioned that bags had been placed on Donnie's hands, presumably later for testing for gunshot residue. However, it remains unclear why these bags were removed without undergoing testing. In addition to the investigation, the police interviewed Donnie's wife, Wendy Holland, and their friend Jennifer Gonzalez Moore, the individuals who discovered Donnie's body. They reported that Donnie was still gurgling blood when found approximately a mile away from the main road. The specifics of the interrogation, including whether Donnie was alive or not and the reason for their search, remain undisclosed. However, there was a significant suspicion that Wendy might be somehow connected to this incident. The police gathered the phone battery and the gun, presuming it to be the weapon used to shoot Donnie. However, a surprising turn of events occurred when Britney's best friend, Tiffany Bailey, confirmed that the gun belonged to Britney. Tiffany revealed that Britney had purchased the gun for protection shortly before her disappearance. With suspicions running high, questions arose about whether Wendy and her friend were involved or if Britney played a role. However, another perspective on the story was yet to be explored. At the time of his death, Donnie was under investigation for his alleged participation in a troubling child abuse ring that implicated several of his own family members. A mere 30 minutes before his scheduled meeting with the investigators to discuss these allegations, he succumbed to a fatal gunshot while seated in his vehicle. Eric Winberg, a former detective with the Baldwin County Sheriff's Office, posited the belief that Donnie likely anticipated arrest and, as a result, took his own life shortly before the planned police meeting. He's a very smart, charismatic, and manipulative individual. So I truly believe that, again, yes, he knew I was actively searching for her. Amidst the suspicions and assumptions, the quest for truth began. The investigation was initiated by scrutinizing phone records. It was revealed that the battery found in Donnie's car belonged to Britney's cell phone. Furthermore, the call records confirmed that Donnie and Britney did, in fact, meet on May 30th, 2012, the day she went missing. Records revealed that Donnie had picked up Britney at her home in Mobile and drove her to the residence in the Styx River area.
Do you think she would get in a car with Donnie on May 30th after having that conversation with him?
I believe she...
Britney's text records revealed continuous messaging until 11:30 p.m., abruptly ceasing at that point. In the early hours of May 31st, they returned to Mobile, coinciding with the moment her phone ceased functioning, preventing any further data collection. They traveled together
back across the bay, back to Mobile, and then her phone stopped working.
This is the last place her phone was pinged. They found the signal.
The police force took drastic measures in their pursuit of Britney. A widespread search ensued, mobilizing volunteers, the search and rescue unit, helicopters, dogs, and boats. The operation spanned a 5-mile radius around the Styx River Basin, the last location where Britney's phone had pinged. Despite numerous interviews with her friends and family, the exhaustive efforts yielded no trace of her whereabouts.
I don't want to leave this world with her baby growing up trying to figure out who did it and where her mommy is.
Britney is my #1 focus. I have got to bring her home for her baby.
Meanwhile, Britney's daughter also longed to see her mother.
Because I miss her.
Yeah? What's it like not having her around? What would you want her to know about?
How fast we can sneak up on meaning.
However, faced with a failed search for Britney, the focus shifted back to Wendy. Police noted that on the day Donnie was discovered dead, Wendy was observed deleting items from Donnie's phone. suggesting an attempt to conceal something initially overlooked. This action gained significance as the investigation hit a dead end, prompting the police to turn their attention back to Wendy. The DNA results from the car yielded no conclusive evidence and the case reached a standstill. Soon, no further evidence surfaced to link anyone to the murder of Donnie Holland. Consequently, the case was closed, officially declaring it as a suicide. The decision to close the case as a suicide sparked controversy and raised many questions. Becca Johnson, a private investigator actively involved in the search for Brittney Wood, expressed skepticism, stating, "Generally, it's 4 to 5 hours till unpreserved gunshot residue is gone. And, hands in bags, it's being preserved. So I don't understand why that wasn't done, even if they thought it was an apparent suicide." Detective Eric Winberg confirmed that the gunshot residue test was not conducted because it was a procedure performed by the Alabama Department of Forensic Sciences at that particular time. Firearms expert Cameron Busey pointed out that the brain matter and bone fragments would likely have embedded into Donnie's hands if he had shot himself. However, no test was conducted to determine this aspect as well. Moreover, Busey highlighted that placing the gun behind one's head would be highly unusual. "I don't know of any suicide that was done in that position." However, despite various concerns and observations, the cause of death was officially determined as suicide, and no concrete evidence emerged to challenge this conclusion. Although the case of Donnie concluded unexpectedly, the investigation delved deeper into unraveling its complexities as they explored the possibility of a family member being involved in the crime. The investigations exposed a disturbing history that the family had been hiding for years. They found that Donnie Holland headed a child abuse ring with the involvement of at least 11 other family members or friends. They had been abusing and exploiting children, including their own, for decades. As the police examined Brittney's Facebook profile, they discovered additional evidence linking the family to these accusations.
Being victimized as early as 3 years old, and the abuse ran into their adulthood.
In a series of Facebook messages investigators believe are between Brittney and one of the alleged victims. Brittney writes on May 27th, quote,
"Hey beautiful, how are you? Tell me what's going on. I don't know what's true in what you said." End quote. The alleged victim then identifies Randall Scott Wood, Dustin Kent, and Donald Holland as abusers, adding, quote, "They raped me," end quote. Conversation part, quote, "I love you, I'm sorry," end quote.
I feel that was their attempt to reach out to one another and say, hey, this is what's going on here.
Donnie's wife, Wendy, and Brittney's beloved brother, Derek, were among the 11 family members arrested for their involvement in the abuse ring. Adding to the gravity of the situation, Lee's mother, Chessie, faced charges of child abuse, despite maintaining her innocence. The allegations against the mother included an assault on another underage female relative. As the inquiry progressed, information from Brittney's friends, to whom she had confided, surfaced. It was disclosed that Brittney herself had been a victim of Donnie's abuse when she was just 9 years old. According to her friends, Brittney had intentions of confronting Donnie and exposing him to the authorities. The revelation raised a significant question. Did Brittney kill Donnie out of revenge? While the hypothesis had a compelling backstory, the absence of concrete evidence made it purely speculative.
Look for that golden nugget, that one person that can make the difference in your case. In this particular case, Brittney Wood was that person. She was the person that could
tell the whole story. In a simpler narrative, or a motive, it might have been the audience's initial thought that Brittney was responsible for Donnie's death, considering the backstory and her subsequent disappearance, especially with her gun found. However, in legal procedures, evidence is paramount, and without sufficient proof, no further investigation into her involvement was pursued. Alongside the theory of Brittney seeking revenge, another hypothesis emerged. Could a past victim have killed Donnie out of revenge and subsequently kidnapped Brittney? The motive behind kidnapping Britney remained unclear, but her unexplained disappearance prompted questions about whether she was still alive. While various hypotheses circulated, the undeniable fact was that Britney's family was on the verge of facing the legal consequences. Nevertheless, Chessie, Britney's mother, expressed frustration that her daughter had not been located yet.
If they would have just took that little bit of energy they took for that bull crap and put it towards my daughter that deserves every minute of their time, quite possibly we could have closure to my daughter's disappearance.
On December 9, 2014, a young victim testified against Donnie's wife, Wendy Holland, in court. The testimony included the harrowing account of the victim's earliest memories involving abuse by adult relatives, one of whom was the defendant, Brittney Wood Holland, who was 35 at the time. During the largest case in Alabama, which involved the prosecution of 10 individuals, the teen girl testified that the relatives often engaged in adult group activities, mentioning that Brittney Wood was sometimes involved in these activities. Prosecutor Teresa Hines asked how often such things occurred. "It happened a bunch," she replied. A man who later pleaded guilty testified that he once participated in a 6-way inappropriate encounter with a group of relatives, including the girl and Wendy Holland. Brittney Wood's 23-year-old brother, Derek Wood, pleaded guilty to engaging in inappropriate activities with the victim in Wendy Holland's case. He mentioned that he had such inappropriate interactions with Wendy too many times to count, starting at around the age of 13. Derek received youthful offender status for his case, which was sealed, and he spent 3 years incarcerated. Britney's mother, Chessie Wood, who also faced charges related to a child abuse crime, arrived at court with her son, but was not allowed inside as she is a defendant in a related case. Moreover, she directly stated that her family members were guilty.
Then throw me in front of the TV cameras on the way to jail over a 9-year-old suspended driver's license.
If they would have just took that little bit of energy they took
for that bull crap and put it towards my daughter that deserves every minute of their time, quite possibly we could have closure to my daughter's disappearance. I lost the public, period. They didn't just hurt their children, they hurt mine too.
Wendy Holland's brother-in-law, Dustin Kent, testified that he took part in a 6-way inappropriate encounter involving Wendy, the alleged teen victim, and his wife, Mindy Kent, who is Wendy Holland's twin sister. Dustin Kent, who also pleaded guilty to sex charges, stated he first witnessed Wendy Holland engaging in inappropriate activities with the alleged victim in October 2011. A week after entering a guilty plea, Dustin Kent pleaded guilty again in Mobile County, this time for charges of sodomy and assault related to engaging in inappropriate activities with 2 different 13-year-old family members in 2008. He was sentenced to 17 years in prison.
Embarrassment to him and his loved ones. It's a worst case scenario for him, but he also knows he has to take responsibility for what he did.
It's good for these children to have one less set of cases in which they have to testify.
Subsequently, Randall Scott Wood, another uncle of Britney, entered a guilty plea in Mobile County. In succession, each of the accused individuals was convicted on charges related to child abuse. Mindy Kent, Wendy's identical twin sister, also landed behind bars after Mobile County jurors convicted her of sodomy and abuse of a child under the age of 12 in 2015. She was sentenced to a maximum sentence of 40 years behind bars, 20 years for each count against her. In 2015, Wendy Holland was convicted of child abuse and child torture, receiving a staggering sentence of 219 years in prison. Britney's mother, Chessie Wood, also admitted guilt to a misdemeanor charge and child endangerment. The conclusion of Donnie Holland's death as a suicide continues to be shrouded in controversy. The significant question of whether Britney was the perpetrator remains unanswered definitively.
This is the end of it, and we find our baby, and we get her, and we put her to rest, and then we'll move on to the other questions we have. But we only can take it day for day. And for today, I'm hoping the weather moves off, they can dig, and hopefully my baby's there.
However, beneath this veil, one certainty prevails. The troubled family of Brittney Wood faced the consequences they deserved. After concealing these taboo activities for ages, justice ultimately had prevailed. Now, concerning the disappearance or the night of the murder, only one person can tell us the truth: Brittney Wood herself.
Doing remarkably well. I can say that the kids have been in counseling.
However, more than a decade has passed, and she remains elusive with her whereabouts still unknown. So, what do you think about this disturbing case? What could have happened on the night of Donnie's death? Was it really a disappearance and a suicide? Or was there something more twisted? Let us know your opinions. We'd love to hear from you.